Good morning and welcome to the program Perspectives on Invicta 98.9. And this morning we're looking at Nigeria and where we are with our dear country. 21 years of uninterrupted democracy, and we are celebrating. But we'll also be talking about 59 years in the life of a nation, how we started, and where we are today with Nigeria. We've had a change of administration from military to civilian, civilian to military, and we are still going with Nigeria. But some analysts will say that we should be, better as a nation, and we should be up in the Committee of Developing Nations. But again, some people argue that what is playing out in the Nigerian society today may not be what we can say that Nigeria is at Uhuru, and we're still far from it. But again, what are the obstacles? What are the cog in the wheel of development for a nation like this? A nation that would say that blessed on all sides, endowed with natural resources and human capacity. But again, what have we done with so much that we have? We have made example of nations that started with us, but where they are today is a far, apart, with what these nations are. And we can make references to nations that we started with. But again, we are still on with Nigeria. And of course, a lot of analysts have put in a lot about saying that can this country hold the way we are pushing it? We have a civilian democratic government in now, and 21 years of it now. But again, are we still, some people will say that we are still far from the ocean. I'll be talking this morning with a development economist, a public finance expert, investment analyst, and former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and former presidential candidate of the African Development Party in the 2019 general elections. My guest this morning is Obadiah Mailafia. Good morning. Glad to have you with us today, Mr. Obadiah, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia. Dr. Obadiah Mailafia. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so very much for having me.
Yes.
Good morning to all our listeners all over. I'm not somebody very, very keen on titles.
Well, you earned it. These were titles you earned along the line.
Yeah, you can exactly. You can call me Mr. Mailafia, Dr. Mailafia, Madam Mailafia. It's okay. Either of those is fine by me.
All right, we do recognize that we should give honor to honor is due. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia. Here we are with Nigeria. Here we are with our dear own country. And for some people say, the center cannot hold when we already talk about when we're talking about Nigeria. But a general overview of Nigeria, and you've earned such titles as a development economist, a public finance expert, for public affairs commentator, and all of that. Where we are with Nigeria, and then we begin to talk about the key areas that has not allowed Nigeria to be where it should be today.
Well, that's a very important one. As you know, last week, Friday, was June 12th, which is the new date that the federal government has designated as Democracy Day. I remember participating in a TV program on that day, Democracy Dialogue, which was quite fascinating. Now, yes, it's been 21 years of democracy, and 21 years are a long time. Provide ample opportunity to take stock of where we are, where we're coming from, and where we're heading. The first thing I want to say is that democracy itself is not a magic wand that will solve all our existential problems. That is not the promise of democracy, since it was invented by the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, in the city of Athens, with people like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Democracy never promises anyone to create heaven on earth or to create paradise on earth. As a matter of fact, Sir Winston Churchill, the great British Prime Minister, wartime Prime Minister, said that democracy is the worst system of government, except for all the others. And of course, Abraham Lincoln defined democracy as the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And I wish that were true today, because it seems to me as if we are departing away from the letter as well as the spirit of democracy as it is practiced in other civilized countries. Today, we are faced with existential threats such as, banditry, murderous, genocidal herdsmen, militias, lawlessness, criminality, godfatherism, as we are seeing it playing out in Edo State recently, and so on and so forth. In fact, the country today is more divided than it was in 1960, not to talk of 1999. We're more divided than ever. And today, unlike in 1960, Nigeria has become the world capital of poverty. There are almost 100 million Nigerians today who are living in destitute poverty as internationally defined. We recently overtook India for this dubious prize. There are only about 72 million poor people in India, which is only about 16.8% of the Indian population of 1.3 billion people. And our own almost 100 million poor represent about 50% of the Nigerian population. So you can see there's a big difference there in terms of the proportionality of the poverty that we're talking about. Poverty is a curse. Poverty is a terrible curse. It undermines families, destroys communities, saps the energy of the people, particularly in situations where the state has become a rapacious beast, a leviathan that sucks the blood of its children. That is the pathetic situation of Nigeria today.
Right, and going by it, we're still deep in the hole, as some people say, and getting out of the hole may not just take one leap. But let's talk about this, the present administration, and we'll go back to promises made in 2015 or before 2015, before the advent of this administration, that it was going to take us out of the woods. Promises on security, guaranteeing the security of lives and property, and guaranteeing, of course, that the human face or the human touch comes back to us if we had in any way lost it. And then we're talking about the economic developments for the country. We're also looking at job employment, job provisions for our teeming young ones. And we know again that these young ones are the energy and of building any nation. But so far, I'm going to make a particular reference to the last administration, and that's talking about when Goodluck Jonathan was at the helm of affairs, where Goodluck Jonathan confessed at the time that he was the most bashed president in the world, and most bashed because we knew that security was becoming a challenge to Nigeria. We knew that again that poverty was going up, and then we also knew that employment was not there. Things were just not going right, and so when this administration came on board, it promised that it was going to do all of this and put it in proper perspectives. Well, here we are. And again, what we're seeing is that the president, Muhammadu Buhari, is getting a lot of bashing on security that is turning out to be a big challenge. Borno, some days back, 81 people killed. We're talking about what is happening in Katsina State, where the people have had to come on the streets. We're also talking about what had happened in Plateau State, coming back to Kaduna State, Zamfara. It's not spared out. a matter of fact, the whole country is saying, this big challenge as where is the president in all of this? And of course, we know that the presidency has also come out that we must be careful about the bashing that we give to our president. What is playing out now for us? Are we, should we not have cause to want to come and say, look, about time that we get a president that is in charge?
Well, you see, people's memory is normally very short. When the current people were in the opposition and Goodluck Jonathan was in power, there was no amount of bashing he did not get. And let me tell you, I don't sympathize with him for two reasons. Number one, if you want to be president, you must have a crocodile skin. If you don't have it, you must develop it. Don't expect anyone to monocuddle you. It's an arena that requires toughness, tough skin, tough heart, tough love. If you are not ready for it, then you better get out. If you are there, people will demand to know everything about you, from your childhood to your present. They will attack everything. And in politics, that is fair game. So I don't sympathize with Jonathan or anyone else that he was bashed. If you're in politics, you are there to be bashed and you must be ready to take it. Now, having said that, I have sat with Goodluck Jonathan one-on-one, in which there were just two of us. Invited me, we sat, we chatted. Look, he's a fine gentleman, a man with a good heart, very, very, very humble, very kind, and very considerate. I don't think he was very prepared for this job. Don't forget he studied zoology and he did a PhD in fisheries. This is hardly a qualification for someone to lead a country of almost 200 million people at that time. That's the first part. The second part is that he surrounded himself with people that he trusted, but they were there helping themselves. It was a very corrupt government, very, very corrupt. His oil minister, all those people, and he didn't do anything. So as leader, you must carry the responsibility for the actions of your lieutenants. And, the opposition at that time were blaming him, were even saying things like, Boko Haram was invented by some people in order to destroy the North. This is really what they were saying. But we were getting contradictory noises. On the other hand, they were also saying, an attack on Boko Haram is an attack against the North, an attack against, Muslims. Can you imagine this? So the man was confused and didn't know what to do. In fact, I don't think in the end he was even in charge of himself. There are even rumors that they did Yasin for him so that he became like a robot. He became like a robot. Me, they never born anybody who would do Yasin for me. They never born out. But I can be very honest with you. There were all kinds of stories like that about this man and what was happening to him. So now that Buhari came into power, Buhari himself said that an attack on Boko Haram is an attack on the North. Can you imagine? Now, he said he was going to deal with the problem in a matter of days, in a matter of weeks. Today is over 5 years, and things have gotten far worse. Far, far worse. The whole country is now on the edge. Now, in the far north, they are thinking about demonstrations and so on and so forth. But where were they when all these killings were going on in southern Kaduna, in Adara land? They killed the royal father of the Adara people. They humiliated them. Hundreds of them have been butchered. They are daily being butchered, even till today. Plateau State, Benue State, Agatu, all these places. These things have been going on for almost the last 10 years. So it's only now that it has touched part of the north that they are now thinking of demonstration. Well, better late than never. But they ought to have started this demonstration. I don't operate on the basis of ethnicity of religion.
Yes, because I want to
I
see it
have
as a Nigerian problem, a Nigerian issue.
well,
Yes.
it is now a Nigerian problem, but that problem has been going on for the last 10 years. Everybody kept quiet, especially the northern elites, even the most educated. You raise that issue with them privately, they brush it aside. So long as it is others that are being killed, it is okay. It is only when their own people are also touched that, Wahala don't start. I don't like that.
Again, Dr.
Oh
Obadiah,
no, please
I'd like for us to
interrupt. Please,
look at it as a
please,
Nigerian
please,
issue. I still want to insist on looking at it as a Nigerian issue, not a particular issue, because we are in a country of our own, all of us, as stakeholders in this country.
You are interrupting me now, and I'm not comfortable with it, Toyin. Let me make my point. You cannot decide for me or think for me.
Otherwise, but again...
Wait. Otherwise, this interview is
okay,
not useful.
Let's get to hear you.
I am an intellectual.
Yes.
And nobody thinks for me. Nobody. I think for myself. The point I'm making is that these killings have been going on for 10 years. Nobody spoke. The northern intellectuals kept quiet. It means they perfectly were happy with what was going on. It means there's a hidden agenda. There is a hidden agenda of systematic destruction.
That would again be a sweeping statement coming from you.
No, it is not a sweeping statement. Systematic killings, predominantly aimed at eliminating minority communities in the far north. That
again
pattern.
Is of serious concern to me, sir.
Yes,
and
well, let the data speak for itself. Over 3,000 churches destroyed in Borno, more than 400 priests and pastors killed in Borno alone and the northeast. That has been going on for so many years. There's a pattern of beheading. Okay, you take a Khan leader in Adamawa, you now do all kinds of stupid things, and then you behead the poor man and you televise it, and you say people should not talk, people should keep quiet. This is the original sin. But I agree with you, Toyin. It has become a national problem. It has become our collective tragedy. And I made this point. I needed to make this point because at the end of the day, as an intellectual, as an economist, as a humanist, as a Democrat, as a statesman, as a believer in the honor and dignity of the human person, anywhere a child is killed, that child is my child, whether it is in Borno, whether it is in Katsina, whether it is in Daura, where I grew up partly during my childhood, whether it is in Sokoto, whether it is in Zazzau, whether it is in Zamfara, whether it is in Bernabari, it affects me to the core because we have a moral conscience. So, yes, it has become a national calamity, but that's not where we started. And that's where a lot of people didn't see it. It is because now the chickens have come home to roost. Now we recognize it as a problem. But the people of Plateau State, the people of Benue, the Middle Belt, Southern Kaduna, we've been handling this collective Holocaust genocide for the last 10 years. Nobody has batted an eyelid. And it is shameful.
Again, Dr. Obadiah, yes, agreed. You're putting it in the right perspective that it is a national issue now, and of course, calamitous as it is. But again, I like to even look at it, the arrangement, that we call Nigeria today. For some people, that has also been a cause of concern, that the arrangement or this marriage, from the onset had been an unholy one. But again, here we are. People say with the numbers we have the strength. But why are we not using the strength that we have with the numbers all over, and what we've been endowed with? I'm talking about natural resources now and human capacity to get Nigeria really going and to make it a proud country that we all can, be proud to say is our country.
You know, it was Aristotle who said that the price you get for allowing those who are not competent to govern, the price of not participating in politics is that you will always be ruled by your inferiors. We are being ruled by our inferiors in every material particular.
But we got them there. We put them there. How do we come to
Well,
put? If that's what you're saying, we put them there by elections. And here we are with
we
whatever we're
we
getting.
we put them there, yes, up to a point. Don't forget, look, the current INEC chairman is my classmate. We went to Oxford University together. He's a brilliant historian. And he used to be a good friend of mine. We used to hang out together.
All that has changed.
But we have parted ways. We have parted ways. I don't think he has behaved very patriotically. I don't think INEC is doing what its constitutional mandate is about. They have used systematic methods to disenfranchise millions of people.
It didn't start today. It didn't start with this INEC. I mean, we've had all the electoral bodies.
No. Don't even go there. Maurice Iwu was a scientist. Don't get. I was very close to Maurice Iwu. I can tell you that man did not have those kind of biases, not at all. He may have a bit of it, but he really did not. Absolutely. Here we have a clear agenda. Okay, disenfranchise millions. You import millions of aliens from Niger, from Chad, from Mali. Overnight they become Nigerians.
How verified, can that be?
Well, I know I'm a scientist. I'm a social scientist. And there's what you call anecdotal evidence. There is what you call participatory observation. And even during the registration of voters, I took part, I went around in areas where they are not favored. They will now bring only 1 or 2 machines to register people. When women are standing in the sun since dawn to dusk, with rain and everything falling on them, it was the experience I saw. In the places they are not favored, they will bring only 1 machine or 2. And when people are tired and fed up, they will now say the security threat. They will bring police, they will park and they will run. And these people will never get registered. In areas they don't like, instead of coming 8 o'clock in the morning for the voting day, they will come 2 o'clock. Within 2 hours, when people are getting angry, they will pack the things and run away. This is what they want. Whereas in favored areas, they will even carry the machines to their homes and get people registered. This is what was going on. And millions have been disenfranchised technically. And I consider that to be very shameful, to be very uncivilized.
Dr. Obadiah.
So this is what has happened.
Yes, Dr. Obadiah, let me share an experience with you. But I must say that I'm glad to have you on this program, and always glad to have you on this program. I shared this with somebody, elder statesman too, that inviting him to talk, on radio about the state of the nation, and he said to me that, Toyin, we've been talking, and what's there to say? And he just shrugged his shoulders and said, look, tired of talking. Now, I mean, that's one person that I would believe, I would say that could be part of this, talking to the situation that we have on our hands and, getting us out of this wood. But you are talking, Dr. Obadiah, and we're glad to have you talking. So what has happened to those that have...
No. I know I'm talking to deaf and dumb people.
No. I'm not taking that line. I'm just saying that is it a conspiracy of the elite too to talk about the situation that we have on the ground and from the divides of the country, and not that we're getting this noise, as some people would say, from one part of the country. This is a country that we call ours. We all are stakeholders here. Why are we not? Is it a conspiracy of the elite to just shrug it off and allow the country to drive itself whatever way it wants to?
Let me tell you, there are 3 categories of Nigerian elites on this issue. There is the elites who have made big money. They've made big money, a lot of them, from currying favors with the powers that be. They get concessions They can even operate factories in our ports, which is illegal, by the way. And they will be exporting and making fortunes, make billions of dollars. Business is good for them. So government is good business for them. And especially bad government is very good business for them. So they are not talking. As far as they are concerned, there's nothing wrong. It is the way the world is. That is the order of things. And they are okay with it. Then they will never talk. Number two, you have the middle class who are suffering quite a lot. But for them, it's a bread and butter issue. Once they can get their salary on time, once they can send their children to good schools, and they can put gari on the table, they are fairly contented, even though they are very unhappy with what is going on. You have the third category of people with conscience, and there are very few, very, very few, people who are ready to speak up. And, I consider my humble self among those people. And let me just put my cards on the table. I have great respect for Muhammadu Buhari as a person. I have nothing against him. In my early 20s, I was in the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru. He was the GOC of Urukuba 3rd Division. He used to drive by himself. We would play snooker together. Very gallant officer. If you see him, you'll be very proud of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Very proud. Gallant officer, patriotic, intelligent. This was the Buhari we knew. The Buhari of today, I don't know him. He has become something different that I don't know him. And it is very heartbreaking. And, so I start from the premise that I have nothing against him. In fact, I like the man. I would even say I love the man as a person. But I think that as far as the current leadership is concerned, it has been a total and outright disaster. And I'm not the only one saying this. The Arewa group, the Arewa elders have come out to say it. And my friend Hakim Baba Ahmed read out their communique the other day, in which he castigated the government. The Arewa elders castigated the government for all the wrong things being done, and especially for the collapse of law and order across the country. So, this is really where we are. So the people who have the courage to speak out are not many. If I had wanted a big position in this country, I will tell you what I would do. I will just keep quiet. I will only be saying nice things. I will be praising the people, praising the leaders, even though they are killing innocent children or allowing innocent children to be killed, allowing women to be raped and butchered. I will just say, oh, there's nothing wrong. Everything is fine. The government is fantastic. This is the best that there is. And I will get a position, and then everybody will be happy. And then I will build castles for myself and my family and send my children abroad and leave everybody else here to suffer. Is that what we're born for in this day and age? Is this the kind of Nigeria we want for ourselves and for our children in the future? That is why some of us are speaking. I don't know, and I don't care what they think of me. All I know is that I can never beg in my life. I can never beg anything from them. There is nothing they have that I envy or admire. With all their stolen wealth, there is nothing they have that is better than me. Nothing. They can never take my intellect. They can never take my character. They can never take my lion heart. These are things I have. And they can never take away the goodwill that I have. So they are nothing. They are nothing. They are common thieves and criminals and murderers. We should never admire anything in them. That is my position.
Okay, Dr. Obadiah, we'll come back to you after this break. We have to go for a commercial break now.
Invicta FM.
Wetin right
after this quick commercial break. Are you serious? For real, are you serious? Victor FM.
Welcome back. Is the program Perspectives today, and we're talking about Nigeria today. And of course, having with us on the program by phone a development economist, a public finance expert, an investment analyst, deputy governor, former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and former presidential candidate of the African Democratic Party in the 2019 general elections. My guest this morning, Dr. Obadiah mailafia. Yes, just before we went on that break, you were talking about the three sets or categories of Nigerians that we have, the ones that have it, through whatever means that they have it and would just keep quiet about the situation that we have. You also talked about the middle class. I was just going to ask again if we have anything called middle class in Nigeria. But again, the middle class, those that would just want, to have food on their table, send their children to school and, get good health and all of that. And then you talked about, who are in the majority, the Nigerians who have just do not have the voice to speak, or that just voiceless as they are there. Those are the sets of Nigerians that we have here now. So we're talking about 200 million people all working or not working to have Nigeria just get to the top and be a country that we all can be proud of. At this point, I'll just, put in another situation of concern to us. That's about borrowing, and that, we all know that borrowing is all, for national good, that there's nothing wrong with borrowing, especially if we inject it or put it into the, into the economy and see infrastructure, rural development and of all sorts. But again, we are turning out to be a borrowing nation, and we borrow from everywhere that we can borrow from. And what that, would be doing to some people say generations unborn would have to be the ones to pay for this debt. And then again, how these monies are being used. And of course, the concern of these financial institutions too, about how Nigeria is borrowing and cautioning them on all of that. As a development economist, sir, borrowing for Nigeria and how we're putting it into the Nigerian economy, your concerns here?
Well, you are right, Toyin, in saying that in principle, ordinarily there's nothing wrong with borrowing, especially if you need and have to borrow. But my position has always been that if you are borrowing in dollars, you must make sure that you borrow only for capital projects. You don't borrow for consumption because of the high exchange rate risks that are involved with foreign borrowing. Our total debt today is about $80 billion. That is staggering amount. Extraordinarily staggering amount. So it is extremely worrying, and especially that we are borrowing mostly for consumption. If you remember, the first loan that the government took was in 2015. As soon as Buhari came to power, he flew to Washington, and the first thing he did was to sign a loan with the World Bank IDA window. It's a soft loan window of the World Bank for the amount of $1.3 billion, ostensibly for the reconstruction of the Northeast. I visited Borno not too long ago. There's nothing to show for it. The things are as bad as ever. If we did not borrow during the time of Yakubu Gowon and Obafemi Awolowo to finance the civil war and the whole reconstruction, Nigeria did not borrow $1 from the international capital market. Is it with respect to common stupid Boko Haram that will be borrowing so much dollars? And when this money is borrowed, you don't see what they've done with it. There are no expenditure controls. There are no accountability. We borrowed a lot from Mambila. Somebody told me that not one stone has been laid as foundation in Mambila. And yet all that money has gone. So what have they done with this money? And and as you know, recently, it was revealed that in the first quarter of this year, our total revenue was 950 billion naira. and our debt servicing obligations was $943 billion. So literally, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, in the history of our public finances in this great federation, 99% of all our earnings is going into debt servicing obligations. This is an extraordinary situation. It is alarming, it is shocking, and honestly, all patriots must get up and question this state of affairs. It is totally and completely unacceptable. It is very irresponsible. You cannot run the public finances of a country in this manner, such that 99% of all your earnings is going into debt servicing. How did we arrive at this position? How didn't we plan ahead for it? Why didn't we borrow for projects that alone have a calculated and guaranteed return on investment? They don't understand public finance. They don't understand macroeconomics. They just want power. They don't know how to manage an economy. They don't know anything about development. They don't care. Their agenda is totally different. And the irony of that agenda, that evil agenda, is that it is the North that has suffered more than anybody. They brought this agenda, it's a silent agenda of jihad and genocide.
Again, sir.
I know you will go that way.
Yes, I must caution.
And I know,
yes,
and I know, but you see, I know about NBC, and I know they've been on your neck, and you invited me to this program.
Yes.
And my views are not the same as your views.
That's true.
And I wouldn't want to put you under pressure.
I appreciate that.
Like I told you earlier, Modibo Kau, the suspended Director General of NBC, has been a good friend of mine. But I have my own reservations about his attitude.
We stay away from that, sir. It's very important that we stay away from that.
Not at all.
Okay. I still have this question, sir.
Okay, fine. Let us go ahead.
I still have this question. I have this question for you, and I'd like just like to have you clear the air on that. One word that has come into on how we go about governance in this country has come about restructuring. And I just leave restructuring, but again from the angles that this is coming. But that's not what I want to look at now. For all we've said about the president, where how some people have described him as not bothering with whatever big challenges that are happening, and which we know may not be so because we are outside government. Again, the restructuring that some people are bringing up now is about for the president to restructure, the cabinet and the people that work with him. Because again, on easy lies the head that wears the crown. But we have a president that has lieutenants, has advisors of all sorts, and people who are well qualified, if you would say. They can parade the kind of, titles that you have here that have worked for it. But again, when we see them, how much are they doing to help the president in this onerous task of moving Nigeria forward? Because with the ministries, the agencies, the parastatals, and all of that, we're saying just how much are they doing for people that he put there, No.
The president is a prisoner of a cabal. There's a cabal that is controlling the president.
That, again, for me, would be an issue of concern. That we know that the buck stops on the president's table. To say that controlled by a cabal, again, people would ask questions about that. That is our president not a man of his own, and that for his past records and what we know about him.
My brother Toyin, are you the one interviewing me, or I'm the one interviewing you?
I'm just getting to find out, why.
No, please answer me. Are you the one interviewing me, or I'm the one interviewing you?
No, the cabal thing.
You are talking as if I'm the one interviewing you. If you want to go ahead, just go ahead and talk.
No, the cabal thing, sir.
But if you allow me to...
I'm allowing you. I'm allowing you, sir. I'm allowing you.
Okay,
Yes.
sir. Okay, sir. Please allow me.
Yes.
There is a cabal in the president. One of them died long ago. May God have mercy on his soul and may he be given a place in Al-Jannah Firdaus. I have no bitterness against him, but there is a cabal. They've hijacked the presidency. They've hijacked political power. Look at what happened last week. Is it not a shame? See, gunfight in the presidency. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Gunfight in the presidency. What nonsense is that? Eh? What rubbish is that? As if they are children. Just look at that nonsense. Please. So he's a prisoner of the cabal, and they're fighting like godforsaken mafias. Gunshots here, gunshots there. Is that what you call a government? And then, so we have to deal with those kind of things. If you want to run a country, for heaven's sake, have a king, have a cabinet. And you are right, the buck stops with the commander-in-chief. You issue command, you issue orders. And those orders must be obeyed. If I were president, God help you if you don't obey my order. You are in for it. I call the shots. I'm not a dictator, I'm not a tyrant, and the buck stops with me. The good of the country is the supreme objective that I would put ahead. But let's be very sincere. You cannot blame the president for everything. The president cannot have his eyes and ears in every corner of Nigeria. There's also what you call state government. Come back to our beloved Kaduna State. If the governor, Madam Nasir El-Rufai, if he had put his energy into fighting banditry and all these genocidal herdsmen killing people, if he had put the same energy the way he put in treating COVID-19, Kaduna State would not be a tragedy today.
Again, sir, I would not to come into that, but again, we do know that governors are not, the security chiefs, so to say. He's just, he's not the commander-in-chief to say that this must be done and all of that for all that he has done.
But you are the chief law officer of the state. You are the chief law and security officer.
With no arms or ammunition, not in control of all of that.
If you can order for them to be brought, he is close to the presidency. If he wanted it done, it will be done. Look, he told us the other day, I don't know whether these people have short memories or not. He told us the other day that he knew some of them, they came from Mali, they came to Niger. He had to carry our state money to go and pay them and beg them not to come and kill us again. The people of Southern Kaduna have had enough. Killing,
if we would just,
raping,
again,
murder.
That's a touchy one for us, in our discussion here. That's a very touchy one.
Listen to me, my brother. Apartheid, racism, exclusion, humiliation have wallahi Madam Nasir kayi kalam.
Again, sir, I'll seriously call for us to be, a little bit, civil with, words that we use.
No, I just said,
yes.
We're
live on radio, sir. We're live on radio.
Yes,
and we know that a lot of people
he's
want
my friend. Don't worry. He used to be a good friend of mine.
No, but that's not that.
That's
a personal relationship, sir. But I'm on air now, and people want to, take on what they will look at you as a big role model, sir. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, sir, just before we go on
let me just put it this way. I'm a man of conscience. Even my name, mailafia, means a man of peace. And Obadiah in the Hebrew Old Testament means servant of the Most High. Servant of the Most High God. I am a servant of the Most High God. And I cherish the idea of being a servant of the people. So my conscience, my conscience comes first. Not the fear of man. My conscience comes first. Where innocent people are being slaughtered, where children are being killed, where my people are humiliated, trampled upon, treated like as if we're in apartheid South Africa.
We're again moving into particular now, where I'm talking about national issue. This is a national issue, sir, for us. How going about it and what we have to do. And because we're taking the security challenge has been an issue with us. banditry,
sir.
kidnapping, and all of that. Government's response, and I'm talking about government at the top level. How we deploy our troops. What we're seeing in Borno, to some people say totally unacceptable, and in any other part of the country about the security challenges that we're facing. And so, sir, treatment of it should just be national. I'd not like to be particular here. I'm just looking at national security. Yes.
Sure, but you are in Kaduna. You don't want to talk about Kaduna. Anyway,
I'm looking at it at national level. Kaduna is part of it. Yes. Yes.
Sure. No problem. Look, I think, Toyin, we are all agreed that this thing has been going on in the Middle Belt, in southern Kaduna, all these places. It's been going on for a long time. Now it has become a national issue, and I agree with you. It is a national crisis that we face, and we have to look at national solutions. But you see, solutions must come at various levels. There's a national one, there is the state one, there's a local one, there's a community one. I am the last person to blame government for all our misfortunes. There's only so much government can do. Communities must do their part. Mosques must do their part. Churches must do their part. Community associations, cultural groups, everybody, women, youth, everybody must do their part. That is what happens in a democracy that is vibrant and that is flourishing and that cares about people. So I am the last person to just heap the blame on politicians. But you see, that is the burden of leadership. If you are a leader, you must take responsibility. The buck stops with you, and you have to do what you must do. And you must be for all the people, not some of the people. And you shouldn't have hidden agendas. Unfortunately, we have hidden agendas. You said I shouldn't go into them. You said I shouldn't talk about jihad and all those things, so I will not talk about that. But you see, the whole North has suffered more than anybody. People with money, even from the North, they've run away. They're all in Lagos and Abuja. They've run away. I went to Borno the other day. Going there, the plane is empty. When you are coming by, it is full because people are moving. So they themselves, with their own hands, they've destroyed the North. Today, there's nothing but poverty. There's nothing but internally displaced persons, refugees, poverty, underage marriage, alamajiri, disease, suffering. This is the lot of the North. See, as an economist and as a Democrat, the welfare of the North is as paramount in my heart and mind as the welfare of the whole country. And when I worry about Southern Kaduna, it is because charity must begin at home. I look at my people and I feel like weeping. They've been trampled upon, they've been humiliated, they've been oppressed, they've been excluded. What we are practicing is more like apartheid in the when Mandela.
And we can get out of all of these. We can get out of all of these. You have a projection for us to get out of all of these and have the country or the nation that we all, can be proud of.
Yes. No, we can get out of it. We can get out of it, definitely. And I'm a social scientist. I'm a development economist. I can tell you, I don't waste a moment of my life. I'm always studying, I'm always reflecting. I hardly go out. So I have a massive library at my home. It's bigger than some universities. I'm always reading, cracking my brain. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you'll find me awake and working. Worrying about Nigeria, worrying about our people, worrying about the future, and thinking, developing models and blueprints for the economic development and technological transformation of our country. I live by optimism, I hope. We must never give up. But at the foundation of this, there must be leadership. And leadership is not just political leadership. Even greater is moral leadership. That the leaders must build on a moral foundation. That moral foundation is anchored on the fear of God, the love of humanity, compassion, justice, honesty, truth and love and courage to follow our dreams and follow our convictions. If we have those kind of leaders at the federal level, at the state level, at the local government level, at the community level, then things will begin to move.
Okay,
The
on that
leader
note, Dr. Obadiah.
sets the vision
Yeah.
about where the country should go.
We'd like to thank you, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia. Thank you for coming on the programs now.
Thank you so very much. Great nation, good people.
Thank you. That's about the size of it on the program Perspectives today. I was talking with a passionate Nigeria and one that would want the best for Nigeria. And so it could be very painful for us that if we know what we have as a nation, that we all would want a better life and would want us to all get out of this route and, of course, be proud of the nation that we have. I was talking with Dr. Obadiah Mailafia, a development economist, public finance expert, investment analyst, and former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and a presidential candidate of the African Democratic Party in the 2019 general elections. Was my guest this morning. We'll come back with Perspectives tomorrow. Doctors, thank you for connecting me with the people and their wisdom. Thank you for putting us in the pictures. Good morning.
Invicta FM.